When disrespect hits home, let's talk about the moments that catch us off guard, the ones that tighten our chest and make us feel small. Before we even understand what happened, the ones someone throws shade in a meeting, mocks your ideas, dismisses you, or makes a cruel comment, and waits for your silence to be their victory. It's tempting to snap back, to meet disrespect with sharper words, to scorch the earth with something clever and cold. But here's the truth. Dignity doesn't live in retaliation, it lives in boundaries. So the next time someone comes at you with rudeness, try this. Pause, take a breath, look them straight in the eye and say, I don't accept being spoken to like that. That's not okay with me. That's it. Simple, clear, firm. You don't owe them a performance. You don't have to explain why it hurt or debate whether they meant it. You don't have to match their energy. You get to hold your ground. Here's what happens when you say something like that. You stop the cycle of shame. You put the mirror in front of them. You show them that their words don't define your worth, but your response defines your strength. And maybe they'll feel regret, maybe they won't, but you'll walk away with your power intact, knowing you chose courage over chaos. That's the kind of regret that sticks, the kind that whispers to them later. They didn't stoop to my level, they rose above it. Maybe I need to look at myself. And that's how you change the room without shouting. We often think of boundaries as something rigid, harsh, like why their rudeness isn't about you, a wall we put up to keep people out. But that's not what true boundaries are about. Boundaries are not about shutting others out. They're about letting the right people in and showing everyone how to treat us with care, dignity, and respect. A wall says, stay away. A boundary says, this is where I end, and you begin. It's the difference between self-protection rooted in fear and self-respect rooted in clarity. When someone is rude to you, disrespectful, demeaning, it can shake you. And in that moment, it might feel easier to shut down or lash out. But what if instead you chose to hold a boundary? What if you said, hey, I'm not okay with that. That tone doesn't work for me. I'm willing to have a conversation, but not like this. Those aren't ultimatums. They're declarations of worth. You're not punishing the other person. You're honoring yourself. You see, boundaries aren't a way to control someone else's behavior. They're a way to control how much access their behavior has to your well-being. They're a signal, not just to others, but to yourself, that your time, your energy, your peace of mind, they matter. And here's the thing, people might not like your boundaries, especially if they benefited from you not having any. But that discomfort, it's not your burden to carry. You are not responsible for someone else's reaction to yourself. Boundaries are love and action, sometimes for others, always for yourself. So no, they're not walls, they're bridges. Bridges to healthier relationships, to clearer communication, to a life where you don't have to shrink, pretend, or absorb disrespect just to keep the peace. And once you start living like that with clear, kind, unwavering boundaries, people learn that you are not someone to be taken lightly. You are someone who honors their worth out loud. And that's powerful. It's so easy to fall into the trap of believing that shame can somehow be a motivator, that if we feel bad enough, the power of choosing not to engage about ourselves will somehow change, grow, or improve. But here's the truth. Shame doesn't teach us anything valuable. It only paralyzes us, stifles our growth, and diminishes our sense of worth. Shame whispers, you are not enough. Shame tells you you've messed up so badly, there's no redemption for you. Shame isolates you, forcing you to hide parts of yourself that are beautiful, unique, and worthy of love. When you've been shamed, the focus is no longer on growth or learning, it's on survival. It's about protecting yourself from the pain of being judged, criticized, or belittled. And when you're in survival mode, you can't learn, you can't expand, and you definitely can't heal. Instead, you build walls around your heart and retreat into a place where you feel safe but not whole. The real danger of shame is that it convinces us that we are inherently broken, flawed, or unworthy of love and respect. It leads us to believe that our worth is conditional based on what we do, how we perform, or how we are seen by others, the results we become. Obsessed with perfection, constantly chasing approval, always measuring ourselves against impossible standards. But here's the thing, no one is perfect, not a single person. We all make mistakes, we all fail. And we all have moments where we wish we had done things differently, but failure doesn't define us. Our ability to rise from it does. Instead of shame, self-compassion is what truly teaches us. It's the gentle understanding that we are human, that mistakes are part of the journey, and that growth doesn't happen by tearing ourselves down, but by lifting ourselves up. Self-compassion is the teacher that shows us that imperfection doesn't diminish our worth, it deepens our humanity. So the next time you make a mistake or face criticism, whether it's from others or yourself, remember, shame isn't going to teach you anything. It won't lead you to better decisions, healthier habits, or stronger relationships. But self-compassion will protecting your peace over proving a point. It will remind you that you are enough just as you are. It will encourage you to own your mistakes, learn from them, and grow into the person you are meant to be. Shame may try to convince you that you are broken, but self-compassion will show you that you are a work in progress, and that's something to celebrate, not fear. Does this resonate with what you're looking for? Would you like it tailored further in any specific direction? There's a quiet power in silence. In moments of tension, when words feel too sharp or the atmosphere is thick with emotion, silence often serves as a natural pause, gives a space to breathe, to think, and to listen deeply, not only to the words being spoken, but to the underlying emotions, to the pulse of the situation. Silence can help us process, collect ourselves, and avoid saying something we might regret in the heat of the moment. But silence, while a powerful teacher, only goes so far. It teaches us to reflect, to gather our thoughts, to resist reacting impulsively. However, silence alone doesn't create change. It doesn't create connection. It doesn't invite resolution. The truth is, silence might protect us in a moment, but it doesn't allow for the kind of growth that comes from speaking our truth. And here's the magic. Truth spoken with compassion can transform not only the situation, but also the people involved. When we speak our truth authentically, clearly, and with empathy, it breaks down walls, it opens hearts, it softens defenses. Truth doesn't have to be harsh to be powerful. In fact, when we choose not to absorb their negativity, speak from a place of compassion, our words have the ability to heal rather than harm. Compassion allows us to hold space for another person's vulnerability while still honoring our own. It creates an environment where truth can be received, not with defensiveness, but with understanding. When truth is spoken with compassion, it does something profound. It invites others into the conversation. It says, I see you, I respect you, and while this may be difficult to hear, I believe you deserve the honesty that will help both of us move forward. Compassion and truth-telling doesn't intend to wound or punish. It seeks to build, to connect, to move through conflict with integrity. It acknowledges the shared humanity in both parties and calls for accountability in a way that leaves room for growth. Think about times when you've heard difficult truths from someone who spoke them with kindness. Maybe it was a loved one who helped you see your blind spots, or a colleague who gently pointed out an area for improvement. Their words might have been hard to hear, but because they were delivered with empathy, you felt respected even as you absorbed the discomfort. That is the transformative power of compassionate truth. On the other hand, when truth is delivered without compassion, when it's harsh, judgmental, or devoid of understanding, it doesn't build anything. It creates barriers. It causes defensiveness. It leads to resentment. It might be honest, but it's not boundaries. Are a form of self-respect constructive? It doesn't invite dialogue, it shuts it down. And that's where silence becomes a more potent teacher, because in those moments, saying nothing is often the kinder choice. But when we speak with the intention to uplift, to clarify, and to bridge understanding, truth becomes a tool for deep connection. It allows us to move through discomfort with grace. It's transformative because it calls us to be vulnerable, to speak up with the courage of our convictions, and to do so in a way that invites healing instead of harm. Ultimately, silence is important when we need to reflect, or when our words would only add to the tension. But when the time comes to speak, let it be truth, and let it be delivered with compassion. In doing so, we transform not just the conversation, but the relationship itself, creating a space where real change can begin, where mutual respect can flourish, and where understanding and growth become the lasting legacy of our words. In a world where we're often conditioned to be people pleasers, to swallow our discomfort, and to smooth over conflict in the name of harmony, standing up and saying, "That's not okay with me," can feel like a radical act, but it's not just a statement, it's a declaration of self-worth. It's an affirmation of your right to exist in this world with dignity, to have your needs respected, and to be treated with kindness. You see, when someone disrespects you, belittles you, or crosses a boundary, there's an instinct to retreat, to stay silent, to absorb the hurt perhaps in hopes that it will pass, or because we fear confrontation. But here's the truth. Silence in these moments doesn't protect. Standing firm in your truth, it erodes our sense of self. Every time we allow disrespect to go unspoken, we reinforce the idea that our needs, our feelings, and our boundaries don't matter. But when you say, "That's not okay with me," you are not just standing up to the person in front of you, you're standing up for yourself. The power in this simple phrase lies in its clarity. It doesn't require long explanations, justifications, or even anger. It's not an ultimatum. It's not an emotional outburst. It's a calm, firm declaration that the behavior, the words, or the actions of another person are not acceptable. And by saying it, you set a boundary that defines your sense of self-worth and your right to be treated with respect. This phrase doesn't need to be said in a confrontational way. It doesn't need to escalate the situation. It simply needs to be said. And the impact can be profound for you. It's an act of self-respect for others. It's an invitation to change their behavior. It shifts the power dynamic. When you speak up for yourself with clarity and calm, you signal that you are not someone who will be treated poorly without consequence. You are not someone who will allow others to take advantage of your kindness, your time, or your energy. This small but mighty phrase does something else too. It gives others permission to respect you, and it gives them a chance to recognize their own behavior. Sometimes people act thoughtlessly. They don't realize that what they've said or done has crossed a line by speaking up. You create an opportunity for them to reflect. It's a way of holding space for them to take responsibility, and in doing so, it encourages healthier interactions. But there's a deeper level to the power of this phrase. Saying, "That's not okay with me," is also a way of modeling self-respect for others. It shows people around you that it's okay to assert your boundaries. It teaches them that they don't have to tolerate disrespect, nor do they have to make excuses for others' behavior. It can inspire a culture of mutual respect, where people feel empowered to speak up and demand kindness and fairness in their interactions. It creates an environment where people are more mindful of how they treat one another. In many ways, "That's not okay with me" is a liberating statement. It frees you from the burden of accepting mistreatment. It frees you from the toxic notion that to be kind means to allow others to walk all over you. It frees you to be who you truly are, authentic, honest, and worthy of love and respect. And in doing so, it gives others the opportunity to see you clearly, not as someone who can be manipulated or disrespected, but is what letting go of disrespect really means. Someone who deserves the same kindness, dignity they themselves seek. So the next time someone oversteps, disrespects, or treats you poorly, remember, you don't need to defend yourself with long explanations. You don't need to apologize for asserting your worth. You simply need to say, with kindness but firm resolve, "That's not okay with me." And in doing so, you'll have taken one of the most powerful steps in protecting your emotional well-being. And standing tall in your truth, we all go through tough times. Those moments where everything feels out of balance, when challenges seem overwhelming, and when life hands us difficulties that test our patience, our resolve, and sometimes even our belief in ourselves. And in those moments, it's easy to feel like life is working against us. It's easy to fall into the trap of seeing ourselves as victims, as people who are constantly being dealt a bad hand. But what if I told you that every single hard moment, every challenge, every struggle holds a deeper truth, one that we often miss in the chaos of the situation? Every hard moment is a mirror. Think about it. When something difficult happens, our initial response is often emotional. We react, sometimes defensively, sometimes with anger or frustration or even fear. These emotions are normal. They are part of being human. But what if, in those intense moments, we took a step back and saw the situation for what it truly is, an opportunity for self-reflection, a chance to look deeper at ourselves and ask questions like, how am I showing up in this moment? What is this situation trying to teach me? Where is my own responsibility in this? Hard moments hold a mirror up to our beliefs, our habits, and the ways we handle adversity. They show us who we are when we are pushed to the edge. Do we rise with grace, or do we crumble under pressure? Do we meet the situation with openness and curiosity, or do we retreat in fear and defensiveness? The way we react in difficult moments reveals so much about us, not just the parts of us that are refined and composed, but also the parts that are still growing, still healing, still learning. When we are faced with hardship, it can highlight our insecurities, our doubts, and the areas of ourselves we may not have fully accepted. For instance, a difficult conversation with a colleague might show us how easily we are triggered by criticism. Forgiveness as a gift to yourself, revealing our need for validation, a personal setback like a failure at work or a relationship challenge might highlight our fear of rejection or our tendency to place unrealistic expectations on ourselves. Hard moments aren't just external challenges, they are reflections of the inner work we still have to do. But here's the empowering part, because these hard moments act as mirrors. They offer us a chance to change. When we are able to look at ourselves in the reflection of a challenging experience, we can choose to respond with awareness and growth rather than reacting from a place of fear, shame, or defensiveness. Each time we face a difficult situation and choose to pause, reflect, and understand ourselves better, we are given an opportunity to evolve. We learn to choose our responses, to break free from old patterns, and to cultivate a deeper sense of self-awareness and emotional intelligence. Think about the people you admire, those who have faced hardships with resilience, wisdom, and grace. They are not immune to life's challenges. In fact, they likely face many of the same difficulties as everyone else. What sets them apart is their ability to use hard moments as mirrors. Instead of getting lost in the storm of their emotions, they stand still long enough to ask themselves, what is this trying to show me? And in that stillness, they find the wisdom to act with intention. The beauty of this mirror is that it's not static, it's not one-dimensional. Every time you look into it, it reveals something new. It shows you your fears, your growth edges, your old patterns of thought and behavior that no longer serve you, and your deepest desires. It helps you see what's truly important to you and what reclaiming your power and peace needs to shift in your life to align with your authentic self. It's not just a reflection of the present moment. It's also a reflection of your potential, your capacity for change, and your ability to rise above adversity. And here's the most important thing: you're not defined by your hard moments. You're not a product of your pain or your challenges. Hard moments are just one piece of your story. They are the stepping stones, not the destination. They offer you insight into where you've been, where you are, and where you're going, but ultimately, you are defined by how you respond. You are defined by your ability to take what's in the mirror, learn from it, and choose a path forward that aligns with your higher self. So the next time life hands you a difficult moment, remember it's not just a test of your strength. It's a mirror showing you the truth of who you are right now and who you are becoming. Take a breath, look into that mirror, and ask yourself, what can I learn from this? What is this moment trying to teach me? How can I use this to grow into the person I want to be? The hard moments don't last forever, but the lessons they offer can shape the final words. You are worthy. Always. Rest of your life, in conclusion, every challenge we face is an opportunity for growth and self-reflection. Hard moments act as mirrors, showing us who we are, how we respond, and where we need to evolve. By embracing boundaries, speaking our truth with compassion, and using adversity as a mirror, we empower ourselves to live with integrity and self-respect. These moments don't define us, they refine us, and through them, we have the power to shape a stronger, more authentic version of ourselves.